Okay, this is my review of the MG4 Extended Range 77 kilowatt. It's actually my personal car, so not sponsored for this video. And I'm going to start here on the outside before it starts raining. And so to start off with, the car is on 18-inch alloys with Michelin Cross Climate tires, and I find the design somewhat unconventional, but it's appealing to me, but most people find it quite divisive. The car is about the same size as a Volkswagen Golf or VW ID3. So starting on the outside, have the orange color, which it's nice to see a manufacturer going for a nice bold color, but it's not to everyone's taste. There are other colors available, but at the time of filming, the orange color was the fastest to ship. So here in Europe we have a standard 3-phase 11 kilowatt charging plus CCS. The car has the spoiler, which you find on the luxury model, and the continuous tail lights, which again, not to everyone's taste, but yeah. And the boot space is, I think, quite acceptable. It's quite a shallow boot, but it's okay. And you have a double boot floor where you can put your charging cable. And up front you have the active shutters down here, which help to direct air to the cooling system and to the heat pump, because this car of course has the heat pump just like the luxury. Moving on to the back seats. So this is set to my height, 1.86 meters, and I find that the space is quite adequate. So here in the back, it's not the easiest to get in and out of. It is of course not an SUV, which is of course a big selling point for me personally. So yeah, legroom is pretty good, and headroom as well. It's quite adequate, I find. Both the driver and passenger seats are set to the same height, so that's not a problem. In the back's pretty basic. You definitely see where they saved a bit of money. You've got one USB-A, which can be used for charging. You haven't got any air vents down here. You've just got a little cubby hole there. So yeah, that's not the best, to be honest. Would have liked to see some air vents in the back. You've got this fake leather, artificial leather, whatever you want to call it now, vegan if you like. Armrest, you've got electric windows, you've got tinted windows in the back as standard. It's not something I particularly like, but it is the fashion nowadays. You've got 2 speakers here in the back. You've got a little map cubby back here, and 2 little cubbies here where you can put your smartphone. Then moving on to the front, getting into the driver's seat. So the car has keyless locking and unlock, and when you lock the car it turns off everything, and when you unlock the car it starts up. It's pretty interesting, but it can have its disadvantages when the system starts playing up. The driver's seat is power adjustable, up, down, back and forwards. The passenger seat is not. It doesn't have any memory functions, which is a big oversight in my point of view, because what's the point of electric seats if you haven't got memory functions? The seats are kind of a bucket style seat. I find them quite comfortable, and I'm not the smallest person, but A lot of people don't like these, they think they're too narrow, so, but you know, I find them quite supportive, so for me that's fine. Then you've got the typical sort of digital dashboard, digital dashboard with the touchscreen over here, which you find in most cars these days. Apologies for the mess, but down here you've got some cubbies here. This can be closed, of course, if it wasn't blocked with junk. You've got wireless charging pad for your phone. It's not the fastest way of charging your phone. Down here you've got 2 USB ports, and this is my charger, but that's optional, it's mine. Doesn't come with the car, I bought that extra. You have the left USB, which can be used for wired Apple CarPlay. There's no wireless. The left USB can only be used for a USB stick if you want to put podcasts or something on there, but otherwise it's without function. It doesn't even provide enough power to charge a phone. Then you have the multifunction steering wheel, which is quite confusing, but at least you've got physical buttons, no capacitive nonsense. You've got phone. This changes the menus in the digital dash. This can be saved to a number of functions, like I have this set to change the regen strength. Or you can set it to the 360 camera, you can set it to the AC functions, or change different modes. Then you have another favorites button here, which can be used to, again, save different functions, the same as this, just you have two options, 2 functions you can save. You have the MG Pilot button, which can be set to either have traffic jam assist, which has an auto steer or steer assist function, or you can have it set to just adaptive cruise control. You have the voice assistant, so you can either have that to the MG built-in voice assistant, or it will trigger Siri if you hold it down and you have your phone plugged in. Then down here we have again some fake leather, and of course here gloss plastic everywhere, and you have the 4 window functions, and of course the kind of old school lock unlock button. Here you have your mirror adjustment and the headlight adjustment. This does have LED headlights, which are quite good, but the auto headlight function is really annoying and tends to blind other drivers, so I just have that turned off. Then yeah, you have your wiper stalks here, typical European placement. Actually, one of the things I think is a good test of a car is, you know, how good the stalks are. And, you know, it's really nice, high quality stalks. You know, no plasticky. It's like really nice and positive action there. Then we have the gear shifter. Now this I don't like. Lots of gloss plastic. It's going to collect fingerprints. It's going to get scratched up. It's going to look terrible in 5 years' time. So yeah, that's not great. Then you have the rotary dial. Again, horrible, cheap plastic. It's not the nicest thing to use. It's intuitive, but it's not a nice feeling. It can be a bit annoying to use. It's again horrible, sort of silver painted plastic, might chip in the future. It's probably going to look horrible in 5 years' time. So I wish they'd just gone with like even one of those toggle switches which you have on the new Golf or in the new Peugeot electric cars. I don't like that at all. Then you have an electric handbrake, that's normal. Then here you have all your infotainment stuff. So you have toggles just for the media volume. You have toggle for home. You have the heated rear windscreen, heated, ventilated front windscreen. Then you have the hazards here. You can turn off your AC.
Climate control is off.
Well, there's the voice recognition, but you can turn on and off your AC. That's useful
Climate
if...
control is off.
Yes, okay, right, well, that's annoying, but there you go. So you can turn that on and off here. You have, this is the same as the luxury spec, so you get heated steering wheel and heated seats on both sides. yeah, the software, you know, it's quite basic, but it does everything which you need. You can, for example, here you can actually set your battery heating on. That will get you better charging speed, DC charging speed. Then you can set the discharge, so I think that's with vehicle to load, which I don't have the adapter for. Then you can set the max charging rate, which is quite useful, you know, help protect the battery, because this car has a 77 kilowatt hour battery capacity, but it has a very small buffer, so you don't want to be charging that to 100% all the time. That will degrade the battery a bit faster, although if you do want that for a longer journey and you do need the 100%, you can do that. Then you have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto if you have your phone plugged in. Then in the settings menu you have the different drive modes. So normal will have a little bit less power. Sport has all the power which the car has. The car has 250 horsepower. Then you can set your regen mode. You can have one pedal drive, or this one pedal drive. It's not the best because it only works when the battery is warm. Here you have MG Pilot, so you have ACC or traffic jam assist. The traffic jam assist function, it's a bit buggy, so I would generally avoid that unless you have a very well marked motorway. Yeah, so then you have all the different kind of assistance systems which you expect from a normal car, modern car. Convenience, yeah, you have kind of basic. Here you have the function switches and yeah, basic convenience functions. Lighting, auto high beam, I would suggest turning it off because it's not the best system. And then you have auto hold, which is a new function for the 2023 models. Right, so as far as the last thing's concerned, the audio quality now, because of YouTube's copyright rules, I have selected some royalty-free music, so we'll give that a go. So I personally find the audio system quite good. It's somewhat well balanced. It's not too tinny. Yeah, I think, you know, for the price point, it's pretty basic 6-speaker system. So yeah, I'm quite happy with that. Yeah, before this car came from a Peugeot 208 electric. Had, yeah, much better speaker system, to be honest. Again, a 6-speaker system, but bifocal. So I found that a lot better. But again, that car did end up having a lot of problems over its 56,000 mile lifetime. So yeah, but that's for another video. Then as far as the mileage on this car, I've had this car for about a month. I've already put 3,800 kilometers on it, so about 2,200 miles. Range is showing 312 kilometers at 76%, so that's just a hair under 200 miles. So after this we'll do a little handling test, and then we'll go on to a nice motorway section of about 110 miles, and I'll try and keep it around 70 miles an hour, but there are some road works, so we'll see how that goes. And we'll see from the consumption, we can estimate what the range would be. Now on to a slightly curvy stretch of road. Let's see how the MG4 Extended Range handles. It's got 250 horsepower, so you know, it's promising. Yeah, I've had this car now for about 4,000 kilometers, 3,800 I believe exactly, and so, you know, just over 2,000 miles. yeah, it's, you know, it's a rear-wheel drive car, so it's definitely got promise. And I've noticed now, you know, we've had a few weeks of snow, and I've noticed the car does tend towards understeering despite being a rear-wheel drive car, until you really give it the beans, then the back comes out. But yeah, I've got it on all-weather tyres now. We're on a bit of a curvy stretch. Let's get it up to the national speed limit here in the microstate of Luxembourg. No, it's not a microstate, I'm not allowed to say that. And yeah, you know, it handles really well. It's got decent power. My god, you know, it's not brutal like a Tesla, but you know, it's got some punch when you need it. And you know, that's one of the great things about driving an EV is, you know, when you need that power, you've got it instantly. You know, it's not like an ICE car when, you know, you've got to give it the beans. Then, you know, if you've got automatic, it's got to shift down, or if you've got a manual, you have to shift it down yourself. You know, with an electric car, you've got that instantly. You know, if you want to merge into traffic, get up to national road speeds, it's really easy, you know, effortless. It just does it. You know, it doesn't have to think about it. You know, coming from a diesel DSG car, completely different feeling. You know, you've got to wait for it to kick down, and those DSG boxes, some of them are really sluggish to kick down. You know, they really like to be in those efficient gears, and you know, with this it's just instant. I've got it just in the normal mode. I mean, it's more than enough. You know, sport just gives you a bit more power, tightens up the steering a bit, you know, gives you a bit more throttle response, but you know, normal's more than enough, especially when you've got traffic on these kind of national roads. Got a really narrow section coming up here. Unfortunately you can't see it, but yeah, I mean, it's a brilliant car. You know, I came from the Peugeot E208, you know, another brilliant handling car. I mean, this is different. You know, this is way more grown up. This you know, it hasn't got this kind of bouncy suspension. It's progressive. It's, you know, it's a car you can chuck about, but you don't have to. I mean, it's a really nice family car. You know, it's 250 horsepower there, easy to handle. It's not brutal like a Tesla, but when you need it, it's just got loads of practical power. You haven't got much noise coming through, unlike the E208, which wasn't very well insulated. Then you did have some lovely sort of whiny motor noises coming through. This is much more refined. It's just, yeah, I mean, it's really just a nice refined car. This is what I would say is kind of the Volkswagen Golf of electric cars. You've got the ID3, which, you know, is kind of going into the van segment now. I mean, it's not a looker, let's be honest, even the facelift model. And you've got this, which is just, I mean, it's just, for me, it's just the people's EV. You know, a bit of my story, I've had an EV now. I've had the Peugeot 208 for 56,000 miles, 90,000 kilometers, and yeah, it's been problematic to say the least. I mean, a lovely car to drive, but you know, I've had loads of reliability problems with it. It's been in the garage 6 times. We've just got the bill of 3,600 euros, most likely, when it's all well and done, for the onboard charger. Now it's the second time it's blown an onboard charger. I mean, absolute disaster. And this car's just, you know, the 7-year warranty is a godsend. If something goes wrong, you know, okay, you know, certain limitations on the warranty, but you know, if any of the major components go wrong, I think we'll be well served, at least. You know, even if there's waiting times, you've got the right to a replacement car. I mean, it's just much better. So coming back to what I think of this car now after 4,000 kilometers, the only few points of criticism I can give to the car, I mean, the first one is the traffic jam assist. As mentioned, you know, it's pretty buggy when the road situation isn't the best. You know, on a well-lit, well-marked motorway, you know, it does work relatively well, but as soon as you're in poor weather conditions, or you know, any such less than ideal situation, then yeah, I mean, it does come to its limit, unfortunately. The second thing I've really got to talk about, and this is something which yeah, I mean, it's just not great. I mean, the car, it was advertised with 144 kilowatt fast charging capacity on a compatible DC charger. I haven't been able to replicate that, unfortunately. Even I've tried everything. I've driven long distances. I've left the battery heater on, all sorts. The best I've seen is 107 kilowatt. This does kind of reflect also, unfortunately, what is in the MG promotional materials. The car is advertised with a fast charge time of 10 to 80 % in 38 minutes, which gives a average charging speed of 82 kilowatt. That does seem to reflect reality, unfortunately. Average 82 kilowatts. Yeah, so it does actually charge a bit slower than the luxury with 64 kilowatt. That's given with a time of 26 minutes 10 to 80, which gives an average of 100 kilowatts. So yeah, that's definitely disappointing. That's definitely one small point to the ID3, unfortunately, because it does actually achieve its 180 kilowatt peak quite readily. I mean, certainly in my testing, this car has never gotten its 144 kilowatt peak. I'm not saying it's not possible, but it's certainly elusive if it is possible. And that average of 82 kilowatts, 38 minutes, 10 to 80% DC rapid charge time, it's just not the best anymore. It's really a bit last generation, if I'm honest. The ID does it in 30 minutes, the ID3. So yeah, I mean, that's just not that's really not ideal, I'm going to be honest. Okay, we are now going to start our motorway section. I'm going to try and keep it around 68 miles an hour, 110 kilometers an hour, and we will see what the results are going to be. I'm just going to reset my trip meter here. Okay, we are merging, and that's definitely something this car has absolutely no problem with. This car merges effortlessly. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what the consumption is and what the average range would be. Set it to 68 miles an hour, and we're going to see what happens. It'll be very interesting to see how the consumption progresses. Definitely no problems merging. We've got it now on adaptive cruise, and yeah, I'm interested to see. I think we're going to have slightly higher consumption today. We have got 9 degrees, so there goes the lane assist. It's somewhat annoying. We have 22 degrees set on the climate control and 70% left. So let's see. Regarding my experience with the E208, it's quite a surprise that I even bothered for another EV, but I really feel like, and this is something I feel that ICE cars today, they're just not what they used to be. You're looking at all sorts of turbocharged 3 cylinders, pushing 100 horsepower, 110 horsepower, up to 200 horsepower now. I mean, it's just not, we always talk about electric car reliability and batteries and so on, but I reckon the battery in this is going to outlast any modern 3-cylinder ICE car, frankly. And yeah, I mean, my Peugeot, it's been horribly unreliable, unfortunately, but one thing does show, and that's the batteries in those things, they last forever. I have that car now, it's got 56,000 miles on the clock, it's got 90,000 kilometers, and it's still got 93.5% battery capacity. I mean, okay, a lot of sort of minor components in the car did fail, but the batteries are, just modern EV batteries are just rock solid. I mean, barring some freak failure, some sort of random cell failure or something, those things are going to outlast the cars. I mean, actually, we just have so many batteries that have outlasted the cars they were in. I mean, it's really a shame. That's going to be the big question. We're going to use them for stationary power storage or what? Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting time, and
you know, it's really the thing, you know, you've got to think we're getting to the point where these cars are becoming as affordable as their ICE counterparts, and part of that is unfortunately also that ICE cars are just getting way more expensive. You know, this thing in some countries, I mean not in Germany because of, you know, the rather weird and convoluted subsidy scheme in Germany, but you know, this car in France, this thing costs less than a decently spec Golf. I mean, you can get it for 39,000 euros. I mean, where we are at the moment in Luxembourg, it's 38,000 euros. You know, that's you know, Golf 1.5 TSI automatic territory, and you're getting an electric car with nominally 520 kilometers of range, around 300 miles. You're getting 250 horsepower. I mean, you know, EVs are getting better value for money than ICE cars at the moment, and that's saying a lot. And we know that from Tesla as well. You know, we are getting to the point where the equivalent EV, and you know, I'm not talking about the extremely cheap segment of cars. You know, that's still very much the you know, territory of ICE, but definitely, you know, this kind of premium and mid-segment EVs are getting there. I mean, really, I mean, it is what it is. It's really, you just can't deny it anymore. When you look at a Tesla Model 3 now costing about the same as a Volkswagen Passat or a Skoda Superb, and it's an EV. You know, whether you like EVs or not, whatever, but you know, it's a refined car. You've got tons of power. Yeah, I mean, can you afford not to have an EV at the moment? You know, of course, charging is the big question, and it's really a question of, you know, do you have your own charging spot, or at least one readily available? You know, of course, unfortunately, not everyone has that luxury, but you know, if you have, I mean, really think about getting an EV at the moment, especially with the subsidy schemes in Europe, you know, running out in the next few years. I mean, in France, this thing is dirt cheap. You're looking at 33,000 euros. I mean, you barely get a Golf for that money these days. I mean, barely a good one. 1.0 TSI manual. I mean, what a joke. Or you can get this with 250 horse. You know, come on. Well, you know, it's a rather simple choice. I'm going to turn the heating up a bit. It's getting a bit nippy, unfortunately, so that's going to kill a bit of range, I suspect, but we have got the heat pump here, so yeah, should work. Talking about the steering on this car, you know, it's pretty light, it's very precise. It reminds me of perhaps Hyundai. If you've ever had Hyundai, driven a Hyundai car, you know, EV or petrol, or you know, sort of the French cars from Renault or Peugeot. You know, it's precise, it's light, it's rather easy to get used to. Yeah, I mean, it's really just an easy car to drive, intuitive. It's an automatic anyway, so you know, really haven't got any issues with the gearbox. There we've got that happens occasionally. We do have a little bit of response from the lane assist. I think it wasn't warranted. I mean, it certainly wasn't near the line or wasn't over the line at all. But you know, with these lane assist systems, it is sort of, they do tend to be a bit overly sensitive here on the MG cars.
In 1 kilometre exit right, wait 4 stations, and then keep right.
I really do recommend getting the 23 models, the 2022 models. They weren't, I mean, they definitely had more problems. I mean, I don't know if I can claim that they were dangerous to drive. I think that might be a bit much, but you know, certainly for the uninitiated, very difficult to deal with. I mean, it was just deeply annoying.
Exit right, and
you can turn off the system. You know, it is something which you have to do all the time. Every time you start the car, you know, it is certainly you know, a big problem. I mean, I certainly wouldn't have bought that car. I did drive the 2022 model back in November 22, and yeah, definitely had its problems, definitely not something which I wanted to buy into, if I'm honest. And yeah, I was still hanging on to the Peugeot at that time, you know, had a lot of work done to it under warranty, luckily, and you know, I thought, you know, I was really under the impression that that thing would last, but unfortunately it appears that they didn't really do much to meaningfully improve the reliability on that car, and that's why we're here, you know. I mean, I've got to say, you know, if the likes of Peugeot and that, if they're producing cars with that level of reliability, you know, in my experience, you can't speak for everyone, but you know, certainly a lot of people that had those cars high mileage, you know, they definitely suffered from certain issues.
10 kilometers on A4.
If that's what the European brands are producing, you don't need to wonder when the Chinese come and you know, start dominating this EV market. You know, they're cheaper, reliability, can't really comment on this car, but you know, for the money you're getting better range. Yeah, I mean, it's really come to the point where a lot of the European countries are trying their best to limit the reach of Chinese EVs. You know, you've got France trying to exclude Chinese, and you know, unfortunately also collateral damage some other Asian-made EVs from their subsidy schemes. But you know, is it going to be enough? This car, you know, it's competing with some big name European brands. You've got the Megane E-Tech. You've got a new Peugeot 308. You've got the ID3. You know, this car is cheaper than all of them, especially on the French market. You know, even without the subsidies for some of those cars. You know, and you've just got to say, I mean, you've just got a good deal here. You've got often decent leasing conditions. You've got a decent price. You've got decent range. You've got 7-year warranty. You know, that's still going to be a big concern for a lot of people with EVs, because let's face it, you know, EVs, they might be more reliable than ICE cars. I mean, I can't really speak on my behalf. They might be more reliable than ICE cars, but they certainly are more expensive to fix. And by a long shot, you know, had the AC compressor go on my Peugeot, luckily they covered all of it in the end after a bit of back and forth. But you know, that unit costs €1,700 over here. You know, on an ICE car you're looking at around €600 or €700. So you know, just for something as mundane as the AC compressor. Okay, we are getting almost to the end of our first stretch here of the range test. We'll try and do a few different routes here on the motorway to get a realistic range figure. Here in the very small country of Luxembourg, just heading from the German border to the French border takes just about 50 minutes. You know, it's an easy drive. Got lots of petrol stations around here, not of much use to me, but it's a very interesting place to drive. Coming up to the first roadworks here, so drop the speed down a bit. This isn't going to cost me my average too much. Just driving through the historical steel centre of Luxembourg.
In 1 kilometre exit right to A13 towards Bay
definitely
Range.
worth a visit if you're ever around here. Luxembourg or in the region. We've got you know, tried to spruce up the area a bit, but still very industrial. Once upon a time, the driving economy here in the region, the steel industry, and everything that came with it. You know, this place. You know, you think of Luxembourg now, you think of banks, but you know,
Exit right.
This place was you know, horrendously polluted 30 or 40 years ago. You know, talking about now one of the richest countries in Europe, and to think that this was, you know, extremely polluted industrial country. I mean, and you know, so many initiatives now to kind of spice up Luxembourg a little bit, but it's really the great heritage of the region. You know, what we now know as the financial centre of Luxembourg really grew out of some really grassroots industrial economy. You know, it wasn't always a financial centre. It was really a working class man's country back in the day. I mean, this is just such a relaxing car to drive. I mean, the E208's got nothing on it. I mean, it's really just one of the most comfortable, usable sort of everyday EVs that you can have. I mean, you've got the absolutely ludicrous X power, but this is the one. I think this is the one most people want to go for. I mean, either the luxury or this, just nice and refined. The adaptive cruise control does try to bleed off a bit of speed here in the curves. Not really the biggest fan of it, you know. Could have kept up with the national speed limit here. We didn't need to slow down, but you know, it decided to bleed off a bit of its own. Accord car in front of me is not slowing down at all, but you know, it's got a mind of its own. It's decided to bleed off 10 kilometers an hour just for the fun of it. No, I mean, it is very conservative in the curves, I have to say. Okay, this is the end of our first stretch. I think we will turn around here and head back from now the French-Belgian border of Luxembourg back to the German border. And let's check out what the consumption's going to be like. At the moment we are about...
Take the indicated exit.
198 watt-hours per kilometre, 19.8 kilowatt-hours per 100 kilometres, which works out roughly at 3 miles per kilowatt-hour, and that would give us a range
in 400 meters turn
of
right.
roughly 380 kilometres, if fully charged. So it's not... Okay, so we are now looking at a range of around 380 kilometres. That is just about 230 miles, I believe. Yeah, not too bad. Targeting a speed around 70 miles an hour, and also at 9 degrees. And you know, I think I've had this car in in minus temperatures. I think sort of around 380 kilometers, 230 miles. You know, you can achieve that. You know, even when it does get a bit cold. We're running all-weather tyres. You know, that's going to cost us a bit of range as well, but. All in all, I think it's quite adequate, especially now in the winter. This is definitely the car you want for long distances over the luxury, I think, unless you're willing to charge a lot more often. I mean, the luxury does have that advantage of being faster charging, but otherwise, you know, I think you're playing a losing game. We've got a nice ratting out Citroen DS3 just come past. I don't see too many of them anymore. Most of them, of course, succumbed to the notorious timing chain issues with the 1.6 VTI, unfortunately. So we are now barreling along at 68 miles an hour, 110 kilometers an hour again, and let's see what comes out of it at the end. Our average dipped down to 92 kilometers an hour, so we'll definitely have to make that up again. One good thing with this car is the rear brake lights do come on with regen, which I always do like. The E208 didn't do that, and it got quite a few confused reactions from drivers behind. It's not great. I mean, it's definitely a good safety feature to have the brake lights come on with regen, and I do like that implementation.
Okay, that marks the end of the first stretch. I tried to keep it around 110 kilometers an hour or 68 miles an hour, but unfortunately there were a few roadworks along the way, and that led to an average of 91 kilometers an hour or roughly 56 miles an hour. We had a consumption on average of 18.6 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers or 186 watt hours per kilometer. That gives just over 3 miles per kilowatt hour, which I find to be a pretty good consumption on the motorway. Okay, just to touch upon the issue of the SatNav, it does appear to be an Android-based system. It works rather well. The UI is well planned out, but it's not the fastest system. But it does have traffic information built in via the car's cellular connection. Right, so after a second drive now, have an average of 19.5 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, or 195 watt hours per kilometer. And again, try to drive 110, 68 miles an hour. Yeah, so that gives a range of around 400 kilometers, although there were some roadworks, so you know, it's not probably closer to 380 or so if you were to drive constant 110, 68 miles an hour, between 350 and 380. So short conclusion now to the review, well, first impressions review of this car after 4,000 kilometers. Definitely keep the channel updated as to anything that happens with the car, if there's any problems or anything like that. But just first impressions, you know, the price is right, the range isn't too bad, you know 230 miles ish in winter, and probably a bit closer to 300 in the summer, although I think 300 at motorway speeds, you know, it's not really very realistic with any sort of EV with this kind of battery and this kind of consumption. But yeah, the price is right, the range is right, features are right, it handles well. The biggest problem with the car, which I can really tell, is the charging speed. You know, it's just not with the times. You know, even you know, the 144 kilowatt peak, it's quite difficult to reach, if possible at all. I don't know, I've never achieved it, even with preheating. Yeah, I mean, 38 minutes, 10 to 80% DC rapid charge times, not the best really anymore. And I think that's definitely the weak point of the car, where you have to think, okay, well, do I need the extra range, or can I make do with the 64 kilowatt versions and have the slightly faster charging, because this only does an average of 82, 10 to 80, and the 64 kilowatt cars do 26 minutes, 10 to 80 at an average of 100 kilowatt. So yeah, it's kind of, you have to think, okay, do I need the extra range? Am I going to do journeys where the distance between charges is going to be so long that I need the extra range, or would I rather have the better charging speed and charge more frequently? Because I think the smaller capacity 64 kilowatt hour cars, I think they're going to have actually on average a faster journey time than this. It's just, you just have to think, okay, well, you know, if I have to drive a stretch where I need that extra range, then, you know, that's interesting. But otherwise, you're really better off probably with the smaller capacity cars. But yeah, I'm quite happy with the car. You know, I drive distances, you know, where I need that range, where there aren't all that many charges, and it does make sense for me. But, you know, save yourself the money if you don't need that.